As an internet entrepreneur or business owner, getting paid is hard enough. The last thing that you should have to worry about is getting paid for your products and services that you put out into the marketplace. But starting today, you'll never have to be concerned with such petty matters again. Because once you learn what Bitcoin can do for your business, you'll never have to worry about getting paid for your valuable goods and services ever again. And that only just begins to touch on just a couple of the benefits that you're going to find with Bitcoin. Hi, welcome to the Libpreneur Show. I'm Glenn Kowalski, the founder of Palm Tree Research and Libpreneur magazine. Every week, we add new videos to help liberty-minded entrepreneurs like you find personal, financial, and location independence. So be sure to hit the subscribe button right now. If you run an online business, your days are already full of a million different things that you need to get done. You need to develop, market, produce, and then deliver something of value every single day. And I'm sure if you're like most business owners, it's something you've poured your heart and your soul into, and you worked really hard to get put out there onto the market. And it's certainly something that you've invested your time and your money in. The last thing that you need to worry about is not getting paid. All of the paperwork that comes from fraud complaints and chargebacks, delays, problems transferring money, and worst of all, getting your money tied up in some bureaucratic nightmare that happens when your processor doesn't give you the access to the funds that you need. So today we're going to talk about what Bitcoin can do for your business, and it's a lot more than what you think. Plus, we're going to discuss some of the pitfalls that you have to watch out for while you're dealing with Bitcoin so that you're going into it completely prepared. The first thing that you need to know and understand with Bitcoin is that with Bitcoin, you can get paid instantly. And international transfers can happen no matter where in the world you are at any given time and where your customers are. Anyone who's living in a country like Panama, for example, is going to tell you that getting paid is an absolute nightmare. PayPal won't pay out to Panama and several other countries that you might be living in or working in. And merchant accounts, if they are available, can often be really super expensive or have other issues like not integrating properly with cards that you're using. And there are fees every single step of the way. Plus, at each step, you're at risk of actually losing those funds. Because with banks and payment wallets like PayPal and Stripe, your money isn't really technically yours. The money doesn't actually belong to you. It belongs to the processor or to the bank. And they're essentially giving you an IOU. But that IOU can be revoked for a ton of different reasons, or just at their whim. I have heard and seen nightmare after nightmare of businesses getting their funds frozen and accounts shut down by banks or by PayPal, even though everything they were doing is completely above board. Oftentimes, that'll happen right in the middle of a promotion. What'll happen is the banks or PayPal will see that all of a sudden you're making more money than they think is normal, and they'll think that something is suspicious, and they'll shut you down. And I've seen nightmares where they've actually locked up those funds that you need to run your business for up to 6 months or even longer. I mean, of course this activity isn't normal. You've just spent the last 3 months putting together a promotion, not making any money, going into the hole so you can put this promotion together. It finally works and it finally succeeds, and then PayPal comes in and shuts you down. Plus, if you're outside of Canada or the US or the EU, depending on where you are, many countries, the regulations state that PayPal has to hold on to your funds for 30 days after you've been paid. So how do you run a business when your cash flow is on a 30-day delay, especially with at the end of that 30 days, you don't know if you're going to get it? Talk about a stressful situation to be in. And I don't want you to kid yourself, because that happens more often than anybody would like to admit. I know one of my companies, it got shut down by PayPal because a customer who happened to even be a verified PayPal client, they paid an invoice, and for some reason PayPal didn't think that they should pay the invoice. I'm not sure, but they shut down the entire business and banned it from doing business with PayPal. Also, banks and merchant accounts like PayPal and Stripe, they're regulated to death. So to even do business with them, you have to go through mountains of regulatory paperwork and fill out form after form of KYC just to be able to accept funds in the first place. And this can delay your business by months. And if something doesn't jive in their opinion, you can be shut down. If they don't like your business model, or if there's something that you say that they don't like, they can shut your whole business down in a heartbeat. This is especially important in the days of COVID, when many people are speaking out and saying things that don't match with the mainstream narrative. Well, in that case, you could actually get your business shut down because of something that the bank doesn't like. If they don't like something about you, or they don't like something on one of your invoices, the onus is going to be on you to try to decide, to try and prove that you actually due the money that's actually yours. And that kind of leaves you scratching your head trying to figure out how to get paid. I saw one example happen in one of my businesses where we had a super successful promotion for one of our partners, and we were owed a substantial amount of money. It was a total win for the company. I mean, it was something we just absolutely knocked out of the park. But we had to spend actually months trying to figure out how to actually get paid, because it was such a success that nobody that we dealt with believed that it could have happened quite as fast and as well as it did. And since it was a new company at the time, nobody wanted to open up the accounts and to handle those kind of funds. And even worse, the company that we did the promo with during that time, they had mentioned something about the pandemic that some of the payment processors may not have really liked, and they were actually worried that their accounts were going to get shut down. So we, who were just driving their marketing, wouldn't have gotten paid at all in that case, as we were waiting to try to open up our accounts. So then, after you've dealt with those delays and trying to get your bank account set up and all the time that's happened between point A and point B, by the time you get paid again, the value of the cash isn't the same that it used to be. True, the USD hasn't started to experience hyperinflation yet, but anybody who follows economics knows that the out of control money printing that's going on right now, that hyperinflation is really just around the corner. Especially, so you start talking about the bailouts and the bail-ins and the stimulus check. Money is just being printed left and right, and it can't hold its value when that happens. And really, all of the fiat currencies in the world right now, they're all in kind of a similar boat because of the money printing that's happened during this recent COVID pandemic. We have a lot of other videos that'll talk specifically about hyperinflation and why we believe that that's happening, and why the US dollar is losing value all of the time. But I mentioned here because Bitcoin can provide substantial protection and a buffer against hyperinflation. Before I talk about the final thing, and one of the biggest benefits I think of using Bitcoin within your online or internet business, I do want to mention one of the downsides. And that is that technology hasn't quite caught up with the marketing technology hasn't quite caught up with Bitcoin yet. So there are a few things that you might be used to doing in your business that's difficult or even impossible to do. For example, if you're building funnels at all, using one-click upsells, that technology does not work well because of the way that Bitcoin actually works. Also for subscriptions, Bitcoin can be a little bit of a hassle because every year it has to be renewed manually. You can't auto do renewals. And that's one of the advantages of Bitcoin, but it does become a problem when you're in business. But there is one super beautiful thing that makes up for all of that hassle and makes it worth trying to work around it if you run any kind of an online business. No chargebacks. Right now, it only takes seconds for a customer to enter a fraud complaint against your business, because they see a credit card statement, they forget what they purchased, they don't recognize the name. There's a million different reasons, and they don't, I would say probably usually aren't even fraud and usually aren't even regret, but a lot of times it's just a matter of a mistake. And when that fraud happens, that fraud chargeback happens, not only do you not get paid for the product and the service that you put out and you delivered on, you also get a red flag on your account. Sure, you can go out there and fight them. You can enter all of the evidence, but even if the customer admits that they made a mistake, it can still be a real nightmare and ongoing situations to try and get out of once that reversal and the chargeback has been done, and there's already been a ton of costs involved in that. And when you're dealing with a bigger ticket item, if that fraud comes back, it can hamper your operating expenses for a long period of time and make it really difficult for you to continue running your business. But with Bitcoin, you're completely protected from chargebacks. Once the funds arrive in your wallet, they are yours and they are yours to keep. You own them, you own that money. And that really builds a better trust relationship between you and your customers. They have to trust you to pay and to pay you to deliver on services and when you deliver services. So overall, your relationship is better than if that possibility of chargeback actually existed. So what do all of these things mean for you as an online business owner or an entrepreneur in the online space? It means that now liberty-focused business owners have a way to get paid for the work that they've actually done and delivered on without worrying about someone else owning their money, controlling the funds, and blocking your access to those funds when you need them. Whether it be a government, a bank, a payment processor, once the money has transacted, you get paid when you deserve it, you own the money, and it's yours. But it also means that because you're an early adopter, you're going to have to put up with a few technical challenges. But overall, you're going to find it's worth it. And as more of us liberty-minded business owners do that, the services, the technology, all of that is going to improve. If you're already a location-independent entrepreneur and you're looking for more liberty in your life, or if you're ready to discover the freedom that comes with this palm tree lifestyle, click the button below. We have some free information available for you, and it'll help get you started and get you on the right path.